Hello, and welcome back to the channel, God and Girl Talk. I'm Kris, and I am so excited to have you here today because we have another episode. Why? Because God revealed something to me. Even though I've read this thing for, 20, 30, 40 times, God has revealed it to me again in a new light. Because why? The living word is powerful. Guys, I want you to get excited because chances are, if you are a believer, you have read this same verse also probably 20, 30, 40 times because this is from Genesis 1, verse 28. Okay, so Genesis is the first book in the Bible, if you do not already know. And this is going to be God's command for man at the very beginning of his creation. And God wanted me to look at this from a very specific, very subtle point of view because I lead a Bible study. So if you can see this is from my Dominion Mindset Bible study, and it's Walking in Power, Not Pain. I will actually be selling these very soon. And I wanted to share it with everybody because I put together these packets for my community and my community group. And they have said that it really actually has provided so much value. God has been in the room every single time. God has revealed things that I had never would have thought about, even though I've been researching this for months and thinking about it and meditating on it. And people have said that this really activated the Holy Spirit because we're doing it as a group, right? And so the thing that I have on the cover is actually for where 2 or 3 are gathered together as followers, there I am among them, from Matthew 18:20. And that is the purpose of us being in community, guys. For you being here today with me on this video, we are in a community. When we get together, when we ingest this content, when we learn things, we are supposed to share them because God created us to be in community. Being in community is so powerful. That is where we learn the most. So when I made this, actually, I have to make an edit to it because, again, I just got this message yesterday. God revealed it to me, and I was like, oh, I gotta put this in as a key moment into this Bible study. That way, all the girls know that this is a portion of it that can seem so subtle and can oftentimes go missed. But we have to be reminded that when God gave us our commandment, which was to be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, have dominion over all the fish in the sea, all the fowl in the air, and over every little thing that creeps along on the earth, he is actually not stating physically that we have dominion over everything until we have dominion internally in our mind, okay? A lot of times you cannot go into a situation until you believe you need or deserve to be in that situation. You can't walk into a room owning the room, knowing that you deserve to be in that room until you tell yourself internally that you deserve to be in that room. A lot of times you can't even attract a certain type of partner that respects you, that loves you, that is there to support you, not only financially and physically, but emotionally and psychologically, until you believe internally that you deserve a partner like that, right? But unfortunately, so many of us go throughout life, and I'm saying this from personal experience, where we have lost that self-confidence. We have lost our dominion. We have lost that sense of self, the sense of importance, the self-respect. And it really takes a toll on us and the people around us because now they're impacted negatively by our thoughts, our beliefs, our negativity, all the things that the world and the enemy have tried to implant in our minds that we repeat and rehearse in the background on a daily basis that destroy our confidence. That's what we're going to talk about today because the verse from Genesis 1:28 gives us the command of how we are supposed to be living as God's masterpiece, as his creation, okay? And we had that restored. Yes, we lost it in the fall. Adam and Eve, they sinned, they lost it. But Jesus Christ, through his sacrifice, restored our connection back to God and gave us our dominion back. I am so passionate about this because it deserves to be talked about. It deserves to have this level of passion because, guys, we don't even realize the blessings and all the things that we are missing out on because we are not walking in our power, our authority, and our dominion. Okay, so I'm going to read the verse and then we're going to dissect it. And then I'm going to give you some very practical inner work steps in order to get back that dominion and that authority over your life by also focusing on the subdue portion of this verse. So I want you to listen to it. And it says, "And God blessed them. And God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." Okay? A lot of us interpret that as we have authority over the fish and the land and, the fowl and every little thing that moves along the earth. Absolutely, we do. Because again, we are apex predators. We are God's creation. We are his masterpiece. There is no one on the face of the earth besides humans that are smarter than humans, more capable, more emotionally intelligent, more loving. All the things that God is, he puts aspects of that on the inside of us, okay? We are walking in our dominion if we would allow ourselves to walk in it, okay? We can live like this. However, that word, subdue, God revealed to me that it's not talking, well, a lot of people I will say that I talk to, they may be confused by the word subdue. And I know this came up in the Bible study when I was facilitating it. And we talked about it a little bit, but I didn't realize it from this standpoint. Again, you cannot have control over anything in your outer world, right? Your finances, your love life, your relationships, your marriage, your work life, until you have control over it internally, until you know without a shadow of a doubt that you deserve these things, that you deserve to be here, that you deserve to make this amount of money, that you deserve these relationships, you deserve to be happy, you deserve to travel the world. You can't have a lot of those things, or at least not with joy, peace, and happiness, until you know that you deserve these things. How do you do this? By subduing the negative thoughts, the limiting beliefs that come up, and all the negative self-talk that you do that try to convince you that you don't deserve them, whether it be from the enemy or in your own mind. That's a whole different discussion for another day. Unfortunately, I can't go into the differences between those two right now, but we will probably talk about it in another video, because sometimes it's not all the enemy. Sometimes all somebody has to do is plant a seed maybe from the enemy, but now you're replaying it and you're rehearsing it in your mind, and that quickly erodes your self-confidence, your self-trust, your self-esteem, all the things that you need in order to be fruitful in this life and to have dominion and authority over everything that you do. So with that, I want to give maybe a little bit of a definition for the word subdue. When I looked it up, it means the act of bringing something under your control. So again, if you have a rogue thought, an intrusive thought, a negative thought that comes up, you have to take an action in order to subdue it. You can't just ignore it. You can't brush it off. You can't try to repress it, not think about it anymore. That does not work. It always comes bubbling back up to the surface. Why? Because I'm sure a lot of us have had explosions where we've gotten angry, or we've just had a hysterical crying fit, or something has happened where we can't even explain, but we had so much emotion coursing through our body that we let it take us over, and we reacted in a way that we either didn't expect or we did not like. So again, been there. Okay, so when you're not subduing these negative thoughts, these negative beliefs, these negative ideas, or even negative people that are in your sphere of influence that are coming in and now feeding you information, feeding you seeds of negativity, trying to distract you and derail you from the authority and dominion that God created you to walk in and live in, these are the moments that we have to work on subduing that, to where we have to have the mental resilience, the mental fortitude, and the built self-trust. Like, these are actions that have to be taken in order to subdue things and to build back that self-confidence that Christ already died on the cross for us to have. But a lot of us have unfortunately let this world get to us in a way that has eroded that back again. And that's okay, because on this channel, we're going to get it back. Okay, we are going to get it back. I am all about self-work. And I'm telling you, just because a few short years ago, guys, I was such a people pleaser. I would mold myself into all these situations, trying to be something for everybody, losing myself completely, whether it be my family, my friends, people on the street. Like, if they wanted to do something I was in, I had no retaliation. I didn't voice my opinion like I should. But then sometimes I would just have a I'll call them temper tantrums, to be honest, is what they were, where I would get so angry, so mad, I would start yelling and cussing and doing all the things because I had had enough and this person wronged me or they said something to me that I didn't agree with. And now finally, I was ready to address it, but not in the way that I should have. This is what happens when we let our emotions rule our life and we have no control, no authority, when we're not subduing those negative people, those negative thoughts, those negative influences that keep coming up in the back of our mind, and we refuse to address them. A lot of times we have explosions, whether it be anger, like I said, fits of crying, just explosive reactions that you cannot explain. This is not where we want to live. This is not where we want to live. Instead of that, we want to live in the dominion space where we now have authority and responsibility given to us by God as humans to govern, manage, and rule over his creation. That is the definition of dominion because that was his intended purpose for us. It has been restored. However, we all have free will. We all have choices in life that we can make. Again, another discussion for another day. But God gave us that as a gift. And we can choose to walk in that power, that authority, that dominion, or we can choose to let everybody else take our power away and for us to fall short of the glory of God, not live up to our assignments, and not be on this earth to help the people that he put us here to help. And we can live a miserable existence, which is, I'm sure, what nobody wants to do on this earth. So, again, we are really going to focus on this because things like sadness, depression, anxiety, anger, these are all things that are not bad. However, they do need to be mitigated and they do need to be controlled because you will get angry. You're not perfect. You're not Jesus. I'm definitely not, okay? You will get sad. Absolutely. Sad things happen in life, okay? You will have anxiety. You will feel overwhelmed. Things will get to you, but we can control them. I'm going to give you the tools and we're going to do it and it's going to be great. So if you're experiencing any of this, I want you to know that too much of this, too much anger, anxiety, resentment, overwhelm, these can get in the way and block your purpose and blessings in life. And that's not where we want to be. So what we need to do is, like I said, in the act of subduing, we have to take action now in order to remove ourselves from that negative mindset and that negative state of mind, to reframe things and shift them in ways that work for us, right? It's not bad to have these emotions. However, you can reframe your way of thinking to now ask yourself better questions, to now think differently, and to overcome those emotions in a way that isn't explosive. You can do it in a shorter amount of time. You can process them differently, and you can work them through your body. That way, eventually, your cup expands. And this is another theory that I've come up with that I will talk about in another video. But we all have a cup. We all have a cup, right? We all heard in the Bible, the cup runneth over. We want it runneth over with blessings and all the good things and all the lovely things. However, if you have a tiny cup, okay, and you're trying to hold all these things that fit in a cup like this size, it's not going to happen. Overflowing is going to be the emotions, the sadness, the negative thinking, the anxiety, the depression. That's what's going to overflow from your cup when you don't have the right capacity in order to hold all these things. So also, I want you to know that when you go through some of these more negative emotions, that this is not bad, because that means now you're being challenged to go to the next level with God too, and expand your cup, expand your capacity. That way now you can take on bigger, better, brighter days ahead of you. And you're like, okay, that little thing happened. That's okay. I know how to deal with it now because I dealt with this really, really major thing like just a few months ago, right? So don't always look at these things as a bad thing, okay? We're here to reframe and reshape. So the first thing that I want you to do to try to work on controlling these emotions is to do a dominion audit. And I want you to look at every single facet of your life, every category, big or small. You could be family, fitness, friendships, marriage, relationships, work, business, whatever it is, children, being a mother, write it down. Anything that's important to you, travel, write it down. And I want you to assign it a score from 1 to 10. 10 being the best, like I'm the happiest, I'm the most fulfilled in this area of life. I feel wonderful, great, positive about it. But I want you to assign it a score from 1 to 8. I want you to then pause the video after you do that. And I want you to look for anything that is below an 8. And I want you to be very honest with yourself as you do this, and no one's going to see this. So just write down whatever you think is your score for that category. And anything that is below an 8, I want you to start asking yourself some better questions. Because I am better at writing, okay, guys, I reference my notes because speaking is something that I'm working on my communication with, but writing, I'm like, I can write all day. All the thoughts are now on paper and it makes sense to me. That's why I love writing. But anyway, this getting back to the video. So if you see me looking down at my notes, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, so anything that you are not completely happy with, like I said, 8 or better, that means that there's room for improvement. But after you do that, I want you to write down the reason why you are not at an 8 or better in that category. You can do it for the ones that are 8, 9, and 10 as well. You know, if you want to actually take that next step and get to a 10, I will tell you that you likely will not have a 10. We are very self-critical. Also, God is always working. He's always revealing. He's always showing. There's always new levels to things. Like, you will feel like you've never arrived because you probably won't. Okay. And that's okay, because we just want to get to like an 8 or a 9. We want to feel really good about these areas of our lives. And again, go back to all the categories that are a 7 or lower and write the reason why you don't feel like it is an 8 or better. Write the reason why. Chances are, like I said, pause this video, but chances are you will notice some themes across these different categories, and I'll share an example from me. But you will probably notice some themes of maybe even blaming some people, like, I can't have a perfect marriage because my husband doesn't do XYZ. Been there, okay? I can't have a perfect work life because my coworkers don't think like XYZ. Okay, been there. I can't have a peaceful home life because my kids are running around like maniacs. You know, I'm being funny, but also some days we're like, okay, what are we doing here? Why are you running around like that? Okay, so just take that as you will. But a lot of times we try to fix things by looking outside of us when really we need to be looking inside of us. Sometimes you might write a word at the top of that category and it could just be like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm anxious. I'm nervous. I'm fearful. I'm comparing myself. That's why I can't have a great business. This is why I can't have a great marriage. I keep looking on social media and I see this perfect marriage, and then I come home and I have this marriage. Like, these are very high level examples because chances are it's something much more complex, right? That only you know. But I want you to get real with me, and I want you to get very detailed and write it out, all of it. Don't care if it's like 3 pages of journaling notes. See if you notice any patterns, any themes, any common denominators, anything that stands out that is spanning across multiple categories. That is perfect. That's where you want to be, because you don't want a bunch of sporadic things that make you even more overwhelmed. Chances are it's going to be like that, because I will say, just giving you an example from my own, when I started telling myself like, I can't have a thriving business like I want, it's because I have a family. I have kids, I have a husband, I have friends, I have, I don't know, a hair appointment. Like, I just, all the things outside of myself, as opposed to, I keep putting off all of these things that I know I need to do for my business. And also, I think God still has some work for me to do. So can't do that and also run a business because I have so much more work to do on myself. No, that's the work that God wants me to do. He wants me to start the new thing so he can help guide me through it, right? So that's just for me and my example. I gave every excuse outside of myself as to why I wasn't doing what I wanted to do for my business, as opposed to just saying, I'm being a little lazy. I'm pretty scared and fearful, and I don't know if I trust myself to take the next step in my business. And instead of being honest, I tried to make up all the excuses until I wrote it down on paper, and I'm like, I see what you're doing, God. You're pointing out some things. So that's going to lead us into the next thing, because once you write out all those reasons, now it's time for us to start challenging these reasons. And this is where the name it, claim it, reframe it comes from. And I chose this because it's been so helpful to me. Even when I'm going through my and I'm going through a negative experience, I'm getting low and down on myself and all the things, right? I'm like, okay, how about I name the emotion, because clearly it's not going away. And then I just try to accept the fact that it's happening. Okay, now what can I do to change this emotion right now? Okay, this is like classic therapy technique, but I feel like I had to find this out the hard way. That's a long story. But like I said, we're going to name it. Like I said, if you have anxiety, you have overwhelm, you have fear, comparison, maybe that's the common denominator that you're seeing. So name it. Put it at the top of that category. If you're seeing a pattern, just give it a one-word name. Okay? And then you're going to have to accept it. You're going to have to say, I am fearful of creating content because I'm afraid somebody's going to judge me. I'm afraid my coworkers are going to see it. I'm afraid that, my husband will judge me. Whatever it is, get it out. Even though it may not even be the case, just say what you are fearful of. Say why you have resentment or you can't forgive this person. Just put it down on paper, because what a lot of us do, unfortunately, like I said multiple times, is that we try to repress. We try to act like these things aren't problems. We try to dismiss them because we don't want to deal with them because they're not happy thoughts. We try to live this life of confusion and chaos because all of our feelings are all jumbled up. Again, I have been here. I understand and I know. But once you put it on paper, things will start to immediately feel so much better in your body. So you have to accept it. You have to realize that all of these trapped emotions, all of these trapped mindsets and these mentalities and these beliefs, they have to get out because they're paralyzing you from being able to take the next step, and you're allowing yourself to go day in and day out replaying things, traumas, negativities that happened years and years ago that you refuse to address, and it's taking a toll on you. Because if you are a person that goes through life, you feel moody, you're constantly easily triggered, upset, negative, this is what I want to fix on my channel, because I'm telling you, I was that person. A lot of people see me today and they're like, no way. Yes way. Yes way. I was not a very happy-go-lucky person. I still struggle with this a lot, like thinking of the worst case scenario, trying to protect myself at all times and not letting my guard down fully with some people, or thinking they're going to say something about me or think something. Like, I don't struggle with it as much, not nearly as much as I used to, but I still see twinges of it. And I'm going to give you an example of it in a little bit, of something that happened recently where I was just like, what am I doing? What am I focusing on? Like, what is happening here? There's so many good things in my life. This is what I'm choosing to give my time and my attention to. No, that is where the emotions will try to take over your life. And if you are not subduing those emotions, they will quickly start to intrude on your everyday life, and you won't even know it. And it'll be so sneaky, so subtle. You'll just go through life mad, angry, resentful, tired, blaming other people. And it's because you haven't addressed some repressed emotions that you've been trying to get rid of and not think about for, I don't know, maybe a lifetime. Okay? Telling you that because I've been there. So the next thing we're going to do is reframe those emotions. Like I said, if you're feeling fearful, maybe ask yourself, why is someone else's opinion of me so much more important than God's and my own? Why? Start asking yourself things differently. Why do you have so much fear over what, I don't know, Sally, Johnny, Susie, Ben think of you when they aren't living your life? I'm not saying that it's not a valid fear to an extent, depending on the situation. However, it's something that you can't control. You can't control how they think and how they feel about you. So to be fearful over something that, number one, hasn't even happened yet. Number two, likely won't happen. Number three, something you have no control over, is a little silly, right? But those are the emotions that we let take control over us, that destroy and rob us of our dominion and our power and our authority, and we give that power over to somebody else. So if you're feeling anxious, which was me, guys, I was on anxiety medication. I was the queen of anxiety. I was having panic attacks for nothing, just worrying about what people thought, said, were going to do, making up scenarios in my head, doing all the things that nobody cared about. Nobody was thinking about me that hard. Okay. I'm just going to be real honest with you. We create a lot of these anxious thoughts because we're worried about what somebody's going to say, and it hasn't even happened yet, and it's likely not going to. But that's what anxiety is. You're worried about a future outcome that hasn't happened. So, ask yourself, what is really aligned with what God wants me to do in my life? And if I'm having feelings of anxiety over it, is it really coming from God, or is it coming from somebody else? Chances are I'm going to be very honest. God is not a God of anxiety. And if you're feeling anxious over something, it's because it wasn't sent by God or that person wasn't sent by God. So let's think about that. If you're feeling overwhelmed, saying, what am I trying to carry that God didn't assign to me? Why am I trying to take on a million different things? And all it's doing is causing chaos, overwhelm, and I can't function. But yet I think this came from God. No, we got to re-look at some things, reprioritize, and rethink about all of that. If you're feeling insecure and you're comparing yourself to others, ask yourself why you're not good enough and why you're looking at somebody else's life and purpose and why you're comparing yourself when that's not your life and purpose and your job. Like, it's God didn't create you to live like someone else. So for you to feel like you need to compare yourself to someone else, and you're feeling insecure because maybe you don't look like this person, you don't think like this person, you don't act like this person, also ask God, why is that not good enough? What special gift do I have that I can add and contribute value to that would make me feel better about myself? That's why you have to start asking deeper, better questions. And if you see someone that has a quality that you would like to improve and work on, like confidence, start asking yourself, okay, this person had to learn this from somewhere. They had to really work on it. Nobody really comes out of the womb that confident, okay? However, we can build it. It's easy to build. Well, it's not easy, but it can be built, okay? So what is one thing you can do to be more confident today? Could you style your hair different? Could you post a short YouTube video without thinking about it and deciding to delete it? Could you just let it happen? Can you post and ghost, right? Like, what can you do? Could you maybe take yourself on a solo date and you can do something fun like aerial yoga with a friend, like something that you wouldn't normally do, but that would actually be like, that's pretty cool. I did that. I can do a lot of other stuff. How can we start asking ourselves better questions? How can we start reframing our mindset to go with what God is saying about us, which is nothing but amazing good things, and go against everything else that the enemy is trying to convince us of, which is what we should be subduing, okay? And the last thing I'm going to give you, because I don't want this to be too long, I want you guys to really look at this, think about it, work on all the inner work. I'm so passionate about all the inner work. But like I said, I'm going to give you an example for this one in my own real life that just recently happened. But the next thing you need to do is give your attention to the right things and speak life over things in your life and not death. That's what negativity does. You are focused on the wrong things, right? And so you're speaking, oh, I'm not good enough at this. Oh, I don't have enough followers for that. Oh, this person hates me. I must be a bad person. Oh, my children are mad at me. Oh, my husband's mad at me. Like all the things that we come up with, that we make up in our mind that may or may not be true, but you have no control over that person. You have no control typically over situations that happen. And you only have control over yourself. I tell this to my daughter all the time when she starts worrying about other people and looking at them and what they're doing. I said, Jordan, worry about yourself. You can only control yourself. This person can do whatever they want and their mom can let them do whatever they want, but your mom's not going to let you do that. So you already know that you can only control yourself in that moment, right? So I tell myself that all the time. Only worry about what you can control. However, coming from a person with control issues, I will give you an example from my real life that I'm actually working on releasing some of the control. That way God can step in and fill up my life in the way that it needs to look like with him, and not just me trying to control everything that I have control over, and actually releasing it. So I already mentioned that I lead a community group for a Bible study. It's been going amazing, right? The shares, the love, the joy, the compliments that I get, God being in the room, him leading us to things that, like I said, I didn't even think about, that I didn't even know. People getting revelations saying that their lives have changed because God has been in the room and he's been showing up for them in these Bible studies, that God gave me the privilege and the idea to facilitate and lead and to shepherd, and maybe it'll grow into something. So far, it's been great and it's been growing. But I had two more difficult people in the Bible study, which granted, out of the people that come, that's like less than 20%, right? The 80-20 rule, like, it's still less. But I chose to focus on some of the negative things that these two people were doing. One of them left. I was like, okay, praise God, that took care of itself. The other person was still there. And I was doing everything in my power to be the positive, to be the light, to be the shining example, right? That I could be, to text them, call them, check on them, pray for them, do all the things. And I'm like, okay, great. However, when it came to it and there was a situation that happened, I was like, God, what was happening? Like, do I need to be here? Do I need to be leading this? What's going on? And I was like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I can't do this. And God was like, that's what you choose to focus on? Out of all the people that have been in your study that have given you so much praise, so many great things, that have said this changed their life in tears sometimes, that God has been in the room showing up for them. And I'm like, focus on the one person that gave me some not even like major problems, like very minor problems. I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, you're right, God. What am I doing? But it can be so subtle, guys. It can be so easy for us to slip back and lose dominion. This is why we have to constantly meditate on the word, think about it, talk to God, build that relationship, and shift our focus and our mindset and subdue those negative thoughts that are trying to take our attention and our influence off of the people that we're here to lead, and shift it from God onto all the things that are not of God. Like, that's what is, and it can be that quick, that simple, that easy. So I say that to say, like, God was like, first off, what do you focus on? Who are you doing this for? Are you doing this for yourself? Or are you doing this for me? And I was like, ooh, I'm definitely doing it for you, God. So I will keep doing it. But also, it's one of those things. Sorry, my iPad is messing up. It's one of those things where it's like God is revealing that I cannot afford to not think about all the gifts he's given me, all the positivity, all the wonderful people, for him just waking me up this morning, for him providing food on my table, for him giving me this device to record my videos on, for him giving me my family, like all the little blessings that we miss so often every single day, that we don't appreciate, that we don't acknowledge, that we aren't focused on, will quickly lead to all the negative things that, oh, this person cut me off in traffic. Oh, this person said a mean thing to me. Like, nobody cares. It's not important. It's not. At the end of the day, is God showing up in your life? Do you have a relationship with him? And is he revealing to you the things that are going to keep you from dominion? That way you can start walking in your power. Are you going to listen to the enemy, or are you going to listen to God? That's what we have to ask ourselves. We have to start asking ourselves better questions. What can we focus our attention on, and what can we speak life into? So when I started, going into my future Bible studies, I was like, absolutely not. This is not what I'm going to focus on. I said, God, give me the words, give me the power, give me your strength to now see this Bible study for the greatness and the glory that is you. That way I don't focus on all the things that are not of you, that don't matter. Okay, speaking life. This is amazing. This is incredible. The women, the shares, the community, the sisterhood I have now. This is what I need to focus on. So if that is something you struggle on, think also, write out a list of all the blessings. You woke up this morning. You probably had food in your fridge. You went to the bathroom. You could walk. You could see. You could hear. You have children. You have families. Like, start thinking differently, because the second you take your focus off of all the incredible things that God does for you every day, that is where you lose dominion. That is where it's gone. And that requires work, again, to subdue those actions, like taking the action to subdue it and get back on one accord with God. So I don't want this to be long, but if you are struggling with dominion, I want you to constantly read Genesis 1 verse 28 to see what God's original plan was. Repeat it to yourself daily until you really start to understand that you have full control over all the things that he commanded you to do. And again, be on the lookout. I'm going to be selling this. That way it can help all kinds of people. I have so many notes, so many things highlighted, so much information. I'm going to put it in a book form. I'm also going to have digital copies for people who are allergic to paper. I've already been told that, right, from people who have purchased it previously. So I will make sure to put that in the description once it's available. And I just want you to remember that, sis, you are powerful. You are loved. You are being divinely guided into your purpose if only you would step into that dominion and let go of all the negativity, all the intrusive thoughts, all the emotions that cloud your judgment that are perfectly fine that you go through. But how are you going to walk through those emotions with God? How are you going to do your dominion audit? How are you going to name it and claim it and just make sure that you're walking in a purpose that is focused and centered on God? That way you don't have to continue chasing, feeling bad, feeling stuck and negative. So leave a comment if you have questions. I really want to hear from you, ladies. And if there's anything that I can do to help you have more dominion, like I said, I was not always like this. I was not always confident. I was not always positive, and I still work on things to this day. But I have gotten so many revelations from God. I have so much love in my community and so many things now to share that I would be more than happy to help anyone that needs help. So until next time, I love you ladies so much. Bye.